Okay, so let's get started. Good morning or good evening, good afternoon from wherever you're joining from, and welcome to Data Driven Community Virtual Meeting. A few words about Data Driven Community. If you can check the community website, then you can notice we are managing two branches of activities. Scroll down the page a bit to see the upcoming events. On the left side of the page, you will notice the Future Data Driven Summit and an annual joint conference we are leading and running with multiple data platform user group partners. And the second branch of activity are the weekly meetings of the cloud data driven user group, like today we are having. You are more than welcome to contact any of the community board. Jean Joseph is a founder and a co-administrator of the user group, and Ronan is the second co-admin. Anna Weiss is the third moderator. And myself, my name is Deepthi Goguri. I'm a database administrator as well as a Microsoft Data Platform MVP. I'm a third co-admin of the Data Driven Community User Group, and I will be hosting this session today. Together, we are here to help and serve the data platform community. During the meeting today, please feel free to use the chat for questions and discussions as well. And you are more than welcome to use the reactions. It doesn't interfere with the course of the meeting. If you hear something that you love, like or you want to clap hands, then feel free to do so. So today we are going to host, we are so honored to have Paula with us. Paula is a Microsoft MVP for the data platform as well as for the AI platform. Paula, you can go ahead and share your screen and a few words about yourself, please.
Thank you very much for the invitation, for hosting me, for introduction, and it's a pleasure to be here. Just confirm if you can see my screen. I think
Yes, we can.
everything is working. Okay, perfect.
Yes.
So hola or hello, wherever you're joining this session. As I tell you, it's a pleasure to participate in this community, and it's also a pleasure knowing that a lot of people is joining globally to this virtual event. My name's Paula. I'm from Spain. That's because that's why you see "hola," the first the first word we have in the presentation. But I'm speaking from Portugal, from Coimbra, because today I'm participating also in the AI Global Bootcamp and also the Power Platform Global event. So it's like, it's been a crazy week, but thank you very much for hosting me and inviting me to participate also here. And hello, because, I'm going to speak in English and it's our language in common, I guess. So I define myself as data lover, because it's the easiest way to me to summarize everything. But I'm more things than that. As you have already mentioned, I'm a Microsoft MVP in data platform and also artificial intelligence. I'm a LinkedIn learning instructor, so the platform where you have all the videos, but my courses are in Spanish. I participate in the Spanish library, and some of them are also translated into Portuguese. So, if you want to check them, maybe if you want to practice also your Spanish or maybe your Portuguese, it's an option to you. And my courses are related to data visualization and AI, the things I consider myself as an expert or specialist on that. I'm also a Power BI Core Visual Community Representative. That means I participate debugging or trying to spread the word around the novelties we have in the core visuals, the visuals we have in Power BI, the native ones. And I participate with Miguel Myers, that is the principal manager of Power BI, that he's leading all these changes we have seen in the Power BI and the options we have, the new cards, all these novelties we have. So to me, it's also a pleasure to participate with them because I really appreciate the efforts of that team, that when they want to understand what we need as users, as people that we use Power BI to develop dashboards and to create better reports and generate better insights using data visualization techniques. So it's really a pleasure to contribute and participate with different professionals around the globe. That's also good. So yeah, I participate with them. So you can, I invite you to follow the Power BI Core Visual LinkedIn page, because there is where you will find all the novelties and the things that are coming in terms of novelties in Power BI. I'm also the Twisdom creator. Twisdom is a game, it's a Dominus. I prepared I'm preparing, and it's going to be delivered soon. It's a physical product, it's a game. Actually, it's a Dominus, but it's a Dominus where you find more. At Dominus, you find ideas and you will explore, and you will have videos where you will discover new use cases of the visuals. It's not ready 100% yet, but it's going to be available soon. But I'm sad because it's in Spanish for now. Let's see in the future how this evolves, this idea and this game, and how it impacts in the people, and if the people like it or not. And in general, these things I told you before, yeah, connects the world of data visualization, AI, and what I do is I'm freelancer and I'm also a trainer. So I participate with the different companies that needs to improve this data adoption or this their design processes to make better reports and adopt AI in their organizations. My bio, or where you can find more about my services and myself, in this website, it's in Spanish, but I have another one that is UX for Power BI, and that one is in English. So just if you are curious or whatever, you want to contact for whatever reason, I'm always available in LinkedIn. You have my name here in the bottom. I'm gonna select okay. Here's my name, or you can, yeah, always connect. I'm always online, so you can find me in different social networks. Okay. About my career, I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about myself, but something that I think really differentiates me is I've studied telecommunications engineering. So a part of me is structure, mm, very logical mindset, let's say. And the other side of myself, it's very creative. And I define it with this Lego game time ago, a long time ago, but I retake this photo from maybe 5 years ago or something like that. And this was the representation of my curriculum vitae at that time. And it continues to be like this, because when I finished my career, my engineering degree, I study digital marketing because I love arts, I love communication, I like strategy, how technology is connected to that. So I'm always in the middle of these two words and trying to connect in everything. And my whole career, it's been like switching from one side to the other. So right now, as a freelancer since a year ago, I feel like I continue connecting these two words. And I share this with you today because this session is about connecting the user needs, and also about techniques or methodologies we can apply when we are developing dashboards. And I think this is a creative thing because we need to really understand the business and then create an interface when we communicate with colors, with visuals. We have a lot of options. So these two words together really helps to communicate better insights. And it's, well, how I'm developing my life, my career. And I think this image provides you a better understanding of who I am. Okay. And I like to be like in the middle and covering this gap between these two worlds, between the creative side and this logical and technological side, because it's what people need within the business. Okay. And well, this is about this game I told you before. This is the logo of Twistdom. It's Twistdom because you twist the domino, you change it, so you can decide if you learn or you just play, and generates this data culture and adoption of technology within the companies in another way, generating these new ideas and these new ways also of collaborating between the technical teams and the user needs. Sometimes this communication is a bit tricky, so I'm trying to create also tools that really connects these two worlds. Hopefully someday this is going to be global and you will find it in, I don't know, who knows, Amazon. Just kidding. Welcome to this session that is called Unlocking Data Insights. It's a deep dive into user-centered Power BI report design. And the idea is to guide you through a comprehensive methodology. We are going to check this whole methodology first because we have just 1 hour. And the idea is to improve your design process within your organization with different tools. I will mention different tools or options you have, following a whole methodology that connects the real needs of the users with the possibilities we have in Power BI, because we all want to empower decision making. No? If not, a good data model, how you create your DAX measures, whatever, it makes sense. All our work from data analytical departments makes sense if we empower decision making, isn't it? So yeah, let's find this last step. Let's find a way to really connect this data world with the real needs of the business. And at that moment, at that point, when we are developing our report, is where we need to focus in data visualization techniques. And of course, we need to review super fast their benefits. The benefits include capturing attention and connecting with the audience. That means we need to get their attention. We are all stressed in our daily basic, in our different tasks we need to deal with in the every day, every week. So we need to capture the attention. And as humans, we have some triggers and options as developers that will help you to capture that attention. So that's why we need data visualization. Data visualization also help us to tell better stories. In case we talk about data visualization techniques, we need to use data stories to guide the user to take action, to decide based on data. And also we are able to enable the exploration within the data they have in the organization. We also can use data visualization for identifying patterns or outliers more easily. As data scientists, as data engineers, as data analysis experts, we need data visualization for getting better insights so we can develop the proper story. And then we also can use data visualization to facilitate retention through graphical memory. And it's been demonstrated and studied for years, since the 80s. We have a lot of studies that actually help us to guide the attention and to help the user to remember better where to find the key insights, where to find their answers to their business requirements and the business needs. Okay. I don't know if you know this data set. and it's called Datasaurus, something like that. Sorry if my pronunciation is not correct. I hope everything is you can understand it properly. And this Datasaurus is funny because it's a data set that show us how this graphical approach, or how using the scatter chart, that is not a complex visualization, is something we have in Power BI, no? And it shows us how sometimes the summarized statistical measures like the mean, the correction factor, okay, this is keeping constant in the different representations we have here. So the conclusion sometimes we have using these summarized statistical metrics apparently shows we are with the same data set, or we can have the same conclusions with the data. And look here, how different is the data we have represented. So the idea is here, we need data visualization techniques if we really want to identify the insights that can generate value to the business. And using this representation, these visualization techniques will really help us as data, whatever the role you have, to identify the key insight that will help you to develop a proper data story. Okay, you need also to use data visualization techniques to identify patterns in your data if you want to provide value to the users. I really recommend to find, and you can look for more information, and yeah, just go to Google and put Datasaurus, and it's funny to play a little bit with it. I like to mention the difference we have between artists and designers. The main difference to me is a designer focus in solving problems, in solving complex problems. We're gonna see later what a complex problem is. And the main difference is that artists express, conveys, and just creates because they want to create, they want to express. But we are designers. Even if you don't care, or you don't like, or you feel you are not creative at all, you are solving a problem. That is, you need to cover a business need when you are creating a report. So if you don't feel creative, or you say, no, I didn't like arts when I was at the school, I don't like to paint, oh my God, I have to create a new report, whatever. Uh, you can follow patterns, you can follow and use tools. And I'm gonna share with you tools that will help you to connect the reality of the business with this interface we need to create to help the business to take decisions. So don't feel afraid if you don't consider yourself as someone creative or whatever. We are not painting, we are not expressing, we are not doing that. We are creating proper solutions for the business needs. Okay. Another important concept is human computer interaction. This is a multidisciplinary field, and I usually highlight the point that the human part that is represented here, how human process information, how important is language, communication, interaction, economics, how we interact with the screen we have, how we interact with the devices. But these economics, or how we interpret, how we can interact with the screen and the tool we have in front of us, is very important. We need to take care about buttons, about the states in buttons, because we need to make the user feel they understand how they need to interact. Okay, and this multidisciplinary field that is called human-computer interaction also comes from the 80s, comes from the very beginning when we were studying developing websites and these things. So this is not something new at all. And this field connects the use and the context of the users, a lot of things that um, talks about psychology, how we perceive the environment, how we interact with the environment and with interfaces, of course, computer things. We need it. Yeah, we need architecture. We need the data itself. We need a lot of things that has to happen. But if we really want to connect with the user, we need to know a little bit about how to understand the context and the use of people that will be in front of the screen, how we interpret information, how we process everything, bit, a bit of knowledge on how our memory works, um, things related to evaluation techniques, how we can implement and develop and iterate in our designs to create better reports. Okay. Um, what's the different? What's the difference between user interface and user experience? Something that is also useful for you. Sorry, I hope you don't listen, but there is like a noise because they are working, yeah, somewhere close to here, and it's a bit difficult to me because I'm listening a lot of impacts. But by the way, what's the difference between user interface and user experience? The user experience, this side, is about how the user feel about when he's or she is interacting with our interface. Okay, it's about how I perceive this solution is useful, is easy to use, if I feel comfortable or not when using it, if I really get value from the dashboard I have in front of me. And the user interface is what we have in the screen. Okay, so between the device and the user, in the middle, we have the interaction design. And that's something that is key when we are designing. Okay. Um, just as a fast review, we need to take into account when we are creating dashboard or choosing the proper visual. We need to think about how our short-term memory works. And for that, we need to talk about the pre-attentive attributes: orientation, length, width, size, shape, curvature, added marks, enclosure, color value, color hue, position, spatial grouping. All these things help us to guide the attention of the user to focus on an insight we want to highlight, we want to communicate. That's why we need to know a little bit of perception, of psychology, and this stuff. Because they are the tools we have to guide the attention. Okay. And also a little bit about the principles of Gestalt: closure, common fate, continuation, similarity, figure, ground, proximity, similarity, symmetry. All these principles help us to communicate. A part of the methodology I'm sharing with you today, just check a little bit on how you can use these principles to communicate better insights. Okay. And let's start with the UX layers, because this methodology connects design thinking as a general approach to resolve complex problems, and in the other side, the UX principles, all these UX layers that also have been defined 25 years ago. This is not new. This is just something we can use now to create better reports in Power BI. And I want you to focus on the time. Why the time? Because in this graphic, you see we are moving through conception until the completion. how we complete the design, our UI design, but focusing in UX, in this experience, in how the user will feel, how the user will perceive that our dashboard is useful. And if you see in these layers, we start in the time, we start from the user needs and the site objectives. Okay, we are not developing a site, but let's change this, and instead of site, let's talk about dashboard objectives or report objectives. Sometimes we need to review this, and this is key, because with this proper definition, we can define or redefine the content requirements, then the functional specification, then move to the information architecture, how the user will navigate in the different contents we provide, then how we design the interaction, because this is connected with ergonomics, okay? How the users will understand how they need to interact to get the proper insights. This is something we need to communicate to and to include in our designs. Make it easy to the user to understand how they need to interact. Then we move to the next layer, and then we cover the information design, how we will place all the visual, all the menus, all the context we want to provide, how the user will navigate through them, how our interface will be designed. And then it's when we talk at the very end is when we talk about the visual design, the colors, the branding, and this touch of magic when we can like improve the style. Okay, this let's go make make things beautiful. Okay, I don't want to create. I usually hate to talk about beautiful dashboards, but it's true. Sometimes it's good to connect with the audience to generate this context about the business, about the company. But look at the layers. We need to focus and start working on this, then this, then this, then this. And then at the very end, we can talk about the colors. We can talk about the logo of the company. We can talk about all these aesthetical things we can include in the dashboard. But we need to develop thinking about this part, all these layers. Then at the top, we make this wow effect, and we put all the colors, all our decorations if we need it. Okay. This is the paper. You can read it, of course. You can find for this James Garrett, and look the date. Okay, I'm not kidding. This is not new at all, and you have here a proper definition of all the elements of user experience. How I connect this and why I use this design thinking approach to connect these two words. First of all, again, we are talking about complex problems. These complex problems are those that involves people. And for a proper dashboard, we need to think not just in a single user, but more of the user. So the expectation, how they will use the dashboard is a complex problem, because the possibilities and the potential solutions we have when designing a dashboard are a lot, but really a lot. And also in Power BI, we have a lot of options, and we need to decide how we will create this data story or our exploratory dashboard. So we need these emergent strategies as design thinking. And within these complex problems, there is a point that is very important, and is we need to test with the user and include the user in the loop of development, because it will help us to create dashboards that are aligned with their business needs. Okay. And what's design thinking? It's an agile methodology aimed at generating solution to complex problems. Okay, that's the definition. And it has different steps. The first one is emphasize, then define, then ideate, then prototype, and then testing. And this is super important. And it's related to keep the user in the loop of the development process. Sometimes it's difficult. I know the time with the final users is not always available. That when you are working in a consultancy firm, sometimes you spend a lot of time and you have limited time. We all have limited time, that's true. But we need to find ways or tools that help us to include the human, the user, the final user in the loop. And sometimes it's not the stakeholder. Sometimes we need to go deeper and across that line and ask them about their needs. This methodology is also known as the two diamond methodology. And the first diamond help us to identify the what we need to develop. And the second one help us to identify how we need to develop, how we are going to create the proper solution. The first part of the first diamond, this part here, it's about discovery. And which tools we have here. First, we can have meetings, one-to-one meetings with the users, also with the stakeholders. And we need to make a lot of questions. Sometimes I share these questions. I mean, if I have more time, I have like, well, identify different kind of questions depending if you are talking with a stakeholder or the user, because the proper questions lets you have insightful answers. And we are discovering, we are expanding the possibilities to then converge and get this answer, this completion of the definition of what we need. Okay, so we can use these meetings, and I really recommend to establish how you do the meetings and which questions you ask to the different persons, because we need to include different users. In fact, I really recommend to sample a little bit your company and your different users, because their needs will change and their knowledge about data visualization, about how they use Power BI, how familiar they are with data in general. There are users that don't like data, and there are users that they love tables and metrics, and there are a lot of options, and we need to cover all their needs if we want to create a proper product, okay, and something that is really useful within a company. So the first thing is to my advice, or what I recommend is establish how you will deliver, or how will you manage these meetings, because you need a proper format to get the insights from that meetings. Okay. Then, if you don't have time, we're going to see what is an empathy map, or a persona template that maybe helps you to understand and emphasize with the understand the business needs. And these are tools that come from the marketing field, let's say. But as I told you, I connect these two words, so it's something I think it's really useful for you to have these tools to at least think out of the box and try to feel like the user will feel or understand better their needs, even if you don't have time to speak or spend time with them. Then we can also create forms. Forms, why? Because at least we can ask things differently. Because when we start a project, sometimes we have a technical definition. We need this metric, this KPI, the formula is blah, 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 whatever. This is the data source we have this, I don't know, whatever. This is the database with this format within the data, blah, blah, blah. Okay, perfect. But let's change how we make the questions, and maybe we can have better insights and understand better how this dashboard will connect with the strategy. Okay. And then we can also create or have a focus group when you have a table and you have the people sit in front of each other and discuss about the real needs and discover what they need. Okay. This is the empathy map. This is something is that it's used in when you are developing new businesses strategy in marketing, and helps to define how um, how uh, how the user feel, okay, how they think, how they feel. What everything happen around a lot of questions you see here, okay, but the main, or at least the key questions to me, is define the pains and the gains they're gonna expect with our dashboard. And if you complete these questions, maybe you have a better understanding of the different people that will consume the dashboard. Then I also recommend you to create a generic form within your company, where at least you ask for the objectives in a business-wise manner. What is the expected impact of this report? How will we confirm that we are achieving the expected objectives in terms of ROI, return on investment? The company is spending money in creating this report, right? So how they will perceive or also have measurable objectives if our tool is providing value or not. It's something that is being defined or not. Which businesses processes are impacted? How? Sometimes they ask for tables and metrics, and we need to provide them this, yeah, this kind of dashboards. But if we understand the business process that is gonna be impacted, because they're gonna get proper insights, proper business insights, and how we can develop a story, we can connect all the data and create a path that help them to analyze, to really analyze what's going on and get conclusions based on data. Okay. Then of course, metrics, KPIs, we need that. Yeah, I know. Then people involved in the development, identify stakeholders, end users, and their background. Because, for example, some of them some of them can be that they are not familiar with Power BI or with data visualization or with data, or even with the context of the report. So maybe they need a training, or maybe because of their background they are more technological or not, or like more the numbers, and they're statistical people, the statistics, and they are familiar with certain kind of metrics or not. And we need to include all of them. So define the characteristics of the end users. Who's the project manager in case you have it? All the people that is involved. Why? Because when you want to go live, when you want to go to the production, to the environment, to the services in Power BI, and to publish your report, you need to validate if it is correct or not. And you need to know if this is useful, or you need to re-elaborate something now. So how many people is involved in the development, and how many people will, yeah, say, I would say, give you the green light to go live. Okay, so we need to identify it at the very beginning of the report when you are starting in this design process. And then end users, as I told you before, background, objectives, limitations, preferences in the visuals, in the kind of tools they use. Okay, you need to understand them, and that's not easy when you are working in an IT environment. Okay, we have no time. Sometimes it's not easy to get this information from them, but at least we need to try. You can try creating this and establishing these forms, the generic form, and every time they ask you for a new report, just, okay, I need you to complete these questions, business-wise questions. And at least we're going to force them to think differently and not just ask technical requirements, or I want this table I have in Excel, but in Power BI. In Power BI. the design is something else, okay, if we want to provide value to the users. And well, as I told you, the better scenario is you have time to spend with them and make dynamics and methodology to all together and co-creation processes, and yeah, have a good time also, be more creative all together, whatever. It's a better scenario, but sometimes it's true that it's not easy to have this opportunity. Then we have a lot of ideas, we have a lot of inputs from the different kind of users we have. Then we need to converge. We are in the definition process. Now, of course, we need a technical definition, okay? Don't judge me when I say we don't need the technical definition. We need it, of course, and the quality of the data will be key. A good design without the proper data doesn't make sense at all, okay? We need that, but we need the content requirements. We need these business requirements, business-wise questions, business-wise objectives. Then we need to define the UI UX preferences or requirements. In which display we're going to see the report on, or the users are going to consume this report in a device like a mobile phone or now, or a lot of things, okay? And then we need to define when we have finished our first version of the report. About content requirements, I recommend to have a list, just having a list with the business requirements, identifying the priority and the type of visuals. We don't need to be like very precise at this moment, just a little idea. For example, sales performance, okay, priority, medium. I need to analyze the evolution, how it changed over time. So maybe a line chart or a column chart, but at least I know I need to see how sales evolves in the time. Or for example, region performance. To this report is very high, has a very high priority. If I know it has a high priority, I will put in a place that is reachable and has protagonism within the design I provide. If I don't know the business priority, how can I place the proper visual in the right place? It's not possible. I need this list. That is only a list. It's not a lot, okay? So I highly recommend to have something like that. Then we need to define how the different pages in the report are going to be connected. Okay, linear, with that drill through that help us to go from a main page and then go to detail, go to the details and come back. Or I need a hierarchical navigation, and I'm gonna provide something more similar to websites where you can navigate through categories, then go into the detail, then come back and see the summarized information. We need to define how the different pages are going to be connected. Then remember that we have a certain capacity. We have our RAM, short-term memory, and we cannot remember everything. Okay, and this is studied within the Miller's law and has the magical number 7 plus minus 2. We can retain only 7 plus minus 2 pieces of information. So we need to, when we are navigating or creating our menu or our navigation structure, we need to limit the choices because we need to keep the navigation menu to this minimum. We cannot overwhelm. The idea is not to overwhelm the users. We need to be precise and to guide them in how they analyze the information. Then we need to group the information. For example, if you have 5 KPIs, put it in space where you really connect all of them. So the people will feel comfortable when they see it and not overwhelmed. That's the point. Then we can have consistent layouts that help us to organize everything. We need to work on the visual hierarchy using the color, all these pre-attentive attributes. We need to define how we're going to put the emphasize information so the user, when they enter to the report, is going to focus their attention on that point. So we allow the user to identify what's more relevant. Remember the priorities we had before and the titles. We need to find how to design this hierarchy. Okay. Then UI, UX requirement, accessibility. The characteristics we have in Power BI service, because the navigation is impacted because of that. We create an interface that is inside the other interface, and it's called Power BI service. Okay, so keep in mind all the capabilities we have. Think about the display, how the user will consume the report. On the go, think about how we interact with a report. Okay. Also, there are other laws like Fitts law that study how good or bad are placed the elements when we need to interact. When we are interacting in a mobile device is different. It's totally different how we interact with a mobile phone or with a desktop. So keep in mind all these things when you are in a designer mode. Then we need an MVP. We need to know when we have finished the design. We need to know, ideally, how we're going to manage the changes and the new requirements. And this is everything to collect what we need to create. We are redefining. Okay. Then we need to think about the user flow, create layouts, wireframes, choose the visuals, create mockups or something that help us to test our solution. And what's this? This user flow will help you to identify with boxes and rows. And yeah, you can define how they take decisions in their business or how they analyze. And this is business wise thing. Okay. If you connect this, you're gonna understand how they take decisions. So the data you need to guide through an insight. Okay. Then of course we need to choose the right visual. There are a lot of theory about that, a lot of people talking about choosing the right visuals. I also have courses about this, so I'm not focusing today on this because we can talk about for hours about that. I prefer to talk about prototypes or mockups. We can differentiate between the two types, okay? Low fidelity or high fidelity mockups. I really recommend to work with low fidelity ones, and these are the mockups. This is something you can do. It's something you can do with a paper and a pen. You don't need a specific tool. You can use high fidelity mockups, of course. There are a lot of people using Figma. Okay, to me, it's better to have this approach and use low fee or low fidelity mockups because you do faster. You can validate with the business faster. You generate more ideas when you're like more flexible on what you design. Then we need to connect these pages we said before and how we will interact within them. And to me, using low fidelity prototypes is better because you save time. You save a lot of time. Okay. I think I won't have time for the demo, but there are also tools like mockups.com. There are a lot of tools that helps you to include the interaction within low fidelity mockups. If we don't have questions, I'm going to try to show you something. Then, once we have validate the disposal, how we have create this kind of designs, we can validate with the business if this is covering the business need, and it's the idea to test, to validate. Once we have validated that, then we open Power BI. Then we apply a design system. All this design, all this feeling about the branding, colors, and decorations, if you want. Then is when we apply our designs, styles. Of course, we need a technical validation. And then I highly recommend to make proper testing on usability and accessibility. And these are the design elements we have in Power BI Desktop, visual, slicers, buttons, okay? It's important that we use always intuitive icons. And one thing I like to highlight always, context. We need we need messages, we need titles, we need subtitles, descriptions, because we want the user to be autonomous when they are analyzing, isn't it? Or you want someone that is always asking you, how can I do this? I don't understand this visual. How can I go to the second page? We need to really work on the icons and create intuitive buttons, menus. Okay. So we need to include the context. How we can include the context? Basically, here we have buttons, all the interactions, text. Sorry, because this slide is in Spanish, but I know you're familiar with Power BI, so that's not a problem. We need to use use this part here to create not only visuals, not only insert visuals. No, 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 we need this to create proper reports that are intuitive. A design system to me is much more than colors, font, structure, header with primary and secondary navigation, buttons, states, help elements, tooltip style, a lot of things. A lot of things we can have like pre-designed. So when we are applying, when we have validate our prototype, we can apply without thinking because we already have something that help us to put all the style we want to have in our whole ecosystem of reports, because our reports are going to be more professional, and the perception of the user and how they use it will be easier for them. The learning curve, when they are familiar to the buttons or where we place the information, how they can contact with us, all of these things will help a new user to feel comfortable when analyzing. So it's going to help us to create better dashboards. Demo time. Imagine we have this prototype. The idea is to create this. So when we have this prototype and we have our design system, we can switch and apply this kind of colors and style, or this, or this. And it's exactly the same. Imagine you are Coca-Cola now, okay? If you have your style of Coca-Cola feeling when you are applying style in Power BI, you can just adapt it without thinking, or you are Ursula of the Disney villains or whatever, okay? What's the benefit of using a design system? Agility in creating new reports, because you apply without thinking. When I told you as a developer, that's something that it really helps you to standardize and reduce the learning curve for new reports, generates this branding of your department, professional perception, and avoid opinions of the users. I know that it's this can sound rude, but sometimes you need to focus on defining the path, how they are gonna take decisions with your data. If time of the users is limited and you don't have a lot of time to spend with them, even with the stakeholder, define a design system and focus your conversation on what really matters, that is creating the structure of your report, and choose the right visual. Okay, that's much more important than colors. So the idea is to have something, or what I suggest is to have this design system with guidelines, with some materials, Power BI files, that helps you to put these colors and all your branding. This is a business case I have published, and you can find it in my website, just because I show you all the process. I mean, I think this is also a resource that we can help you to define this. Of course, you want me to help, I'm here, but it's not that point. You need to analyze the colors you have in marketing, then define the theme with the colors, with the titles, everything you will put as structure when you are applying your branding. Okay, then validate the templates, then generate the guidelines, then train your team. in adopting this methodology or this, let's say, how we will apply the colors and the styles in our reports, because I suppose you are a team. You are not the only one in your company developing the reports. So you need to spread and share this with everything in the company. And then I recommend to have a session. So then you can apply this theme, this design system to all your ecosystem of reports and generate something that is better and more professional for the users and helps you to go faster. Once you have created your report, technical validation, and the usability testing. Why testing? Because we need to be clear about what we need to improve. It helps to anticipate errors during implementation, minimize risk, and ensure that what is being sought to resolve gets resolved. That is much important than the others, okay? And helps you also to identify how the solution is being perceived, if there is any difficulty, if they need training, and helps you to identify where we have failed. So what we need to improve, but also what is good, what we have done well, so we can standardize across all our our, uh, all of our reports. Sorry, I'm trying to go fast, and sometimes I I don't know how to speak. And then at the very end, we need a loop when we collect the feedback of the users. We need to gather the feedback, analyze and prioritize the feedback, and then decide, take action, apply, and make a follow up with the customers or the user. The same. How this works? Of course, you don't need to get all the solution or the ideas I share with you. It's not the idea. You need to identify which points are better for you, but always following a pattern that helps you to really understand the needs. And here in the first diamond is where you need to focus your work and your conversations with the business, because it is what you need to create the prototypes and then validate and then implement, okay, at the very end. And when you implement is when you need the data. So this is a parallel process. The rest, of course, is business as usual. You need to work with the data, connect your regions, clean in the data, create your metrics, your model, everything you already know, okay? And then you can deliver and test the data and everything. Okay, then a dashboard should be a live project. It's not something you consume once, right? It's a solution that people consume and life happen and new requirements are needed and UX improvements. People will ask for improvements. Maybe you need to solve some bugs. Priorities in the business changes. The KPIs can change. A lot of things happen, so we need to iterate. And when we have this kind of mindset where we are developing, you only need to spend time in the blue, in these boxes: technical definition, content requirements, definition of success, user flow, layouts, choose the right visual, creating the mockups, and then open and implement in Power BI. Why? Because these parts, the idea is you standardized everything across your company. So you spend time once and then you can go faster. So even if it seems that these are a lot of tools, a lot of things you need to implement, it really helps to save time. Okay. And I don't know if we have questions. If we don't have questions, we have spent 1 hour now. I want you to share this quote with you, and it's that a good design is not simply about aesthetics. It's not making things beautiful. It's an essential part of the business, and the user experience is something key when you are creating reports, and something we really need to take care about that. Here again, thank you for inviting me to participate in this event. And you can connect with me always. I'm Paula García Esteban. I'm always on LinkedIn, so yeah, you can find me. If we don't have questions, maybe I can show you a little bit an example, but it's I don't know. Tell me.
Thank you so much, Paula. I mean, like a couple of audience are asking to show the demo. So if you do not mind, I mean, if you have couple of minutes,
I
then
have,
why
the
not?
thing is, I have just 5-10 minutes, but let's do it. I'm
Yeah, yeah,
sharing,
please, yeah.
yeah, okay. Well, this is the tool I told you. This is the mockups.com platform, and I really liked it because it helps you to create super fast the mockups. Why? Because you have, well, first you can have like your standard prototype of the report, and you can copy and paste the elements. For example, imagine you have this. Sorry, I'm gonna close this. Okay, I have this. Like, imagine you have this standard thing. So once you have created this, you can copy and paste elements super easily. It reminds me like a little bit to PowerPoint. But if you, for example, have your menu design, blah blah blah, you can paste and you can move the elements. And also one thing that I think is really interesting is you can edit the data you have. So you can also find categories that are more close to the real business needs and the categories you work with, everything that helps you to create this feeling that this is a mock-up with true data. Not true, but you know. And also a super interesting thing to me is here in the elements you have buttons that are super similar to the buttons you can create in Power BI. Actually, look, this select button. And of course, you can edit what you see. For example, country. Ta-da! You have your button. Okay? Country. Okay, imagine you will have here category. Okay? You can create something super fast. But the good thing is also you have these shapes. Okay. Here you have the charts. And look, you have bar charts, column charts, line charts, array charts. And you can, again, put data that is not real, but is close to the real look and feel the people will have in the future. So you can really advance a lot when creating prototypes here. And you have the basics people expect and the basic we have in the core visuals in Power BI. So yeah, I really think this is a great solution. And the good thing is you can also work with interactions. You can uh, replicate the interaction you will have in a real scenario. For example, I have the Villian mockups I showed you before, and imagine we want to have a button for more info about the dashboard, a description, how they can connect with us in case they have doubts, whatever. You can edit the interaction, and when you edit the interaction, the options we have here are very, very, very similar to the things we have when setting our buttons in Power BI. For example, here in this button that is written more info and contact details. Okay, I can select that when I click or tap the button, I go to a page I have previously defined that is called Williams info page. The Williams info page is this one. Okay, it's again, I don't have to write the elements, but people that see this understand we have a text with a description about the dashboard, whatever, or buttons, chatting teams, send me an email, whatever. And I need to make the people aware that can go back, right? So I can set this row and again set a page. And in this case, when you click, instead of this, I want to go back, okay? I click into done. And what I like the more is if I go to the preview mode, I really can check this experience, this overall experience with the user, really interacting with this mockup. If I click, you see the mouse changes, and I perceive that this is a button because I can click. And I have the message, go to the Billions info page. If I click, I really go to the info page. Then I can come back. So I can validate and test the overall experience. Okay. I think I hope the idea is understood, but it's a great tool, has the limitation, of course, but it's something you can create, something easy and fast, and reuse your proper mockups. This is the idea, that you can reuse the elements and copy and paste as PowerPoint. So yeah, it's something everyone can use. Figma, to me, is difficult, and if you are a Power BI developer, you are spend a lot of time in understanding and learning Figma. It's an option, of course, but it's for designers. We're not proper designers. We need to find solutions that help us to create fast reports. And this, look, you can put the look and feel you want in a high contrast scenario using the black, this kind of style, but also you can use a default theme or use shadows and create something more minimalistic if you want. Or these are just the samples to let you know that when you have your style, it has not to be connected with defining the contents. So you can avoid this opinion, but it's not that. It's about going through a proper design without spending time every time. Okay, spending time every new report. And well, that's the idea. I have not more time. I hope it has been insightful. At least I usually participate in events as today in a virtual and also a presential event, and I share a lot of content. So follow me, and maybe you can see more demos if you, and especially if you can speak Spanish. Yeah, I have more content in Spanish. But I'm participating more in the international events, so maybe you can, and also, who knows, meet each other.
Thank you so much, Paula. That's a great session. Now I need to learn Spanish.
Yeah, next step. I hope, because I was speaking super fast. I hope everything has been understood correctly and everything. If not, you
I
can
just
ask me.
know I just know a single word in Spanish, hola amigo. That's all I know. And my kids usually call me like whenever I go home, they say like, hey, hola amigo.
Hola,
They're like,
amigo.
okay, hi.
It's the very beginning. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all they know, right? But they use that as a lot in my house. So that's so cool and cute as well. So, but thank you for this session, and thank you for showing the demo. Even though we went a couple of minutes late from the session, but it is truly worth it because audience was asking about it. But I really enjoyed the session, and So if anybody have any questions, I can give you one more minute for you to um, put it in the chat window, or like if you are okay, then we can close this session for today, and then we can look back. We can look forward to the next session next Thursday.
Thank you very much. And if you want resources, the resources I mentioned before, you can really text me, and it's gonna be a pleasure. I share these things. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Paula. Yeah, you went
Thank you.
really detail into each part of it. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. And we will see you next week then. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.